An official tier list just came out, and by official, I mean a lot of top players basically made an aggregate list from the Start GG rankings, like the alt rank, basically like the top 100 of a bunch of different rankings, were invited to create a character list, and I was one of them, and I did create a list. I didn't write down what I did, but basically, there's an aggregate tier list. We're going to go over it and talk about the fact that it's a pretty good list. Honestly, before we get into it, I think the list is really good. There are objections that I have, especially about a certain yellow character that I play, but otherwise, it's a pretty good list. Not a lot of complaints, so let's go. Again, if you look at it, every character feels approximately correct. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you look at the top, you're like, okay, Steve, Aegis, Joker. Even if I think Aegis is number 5, I'm not gonna complain. You know, I don't agree with Sonic being this high, but sure. I don't agree with Kazuya or Rob being this high, but sure. They still have Roy in top 10, they still have Peach in top 10. You know, all of these top tiers are very meta-relevant threats, right? To me, the biggest, like, whoa, is Pikachu is not top 10 in this list. And they actually do go into that, the reason, a little bit later in the article, so I will show that, but it's crazy to me that there are people that don't even, like, Pika not being the number 1 character, fine. Pika not being top 5, fine. Pika's for sure top 10. Like, in no universe is Pika not top 10. This character's nuts. But the thing is, as it says later in the list with like a couple of things, Pikachu was notably top 5 in Latin America because either Seeing Me or Shiny Mark, especially like Shiny Mark's going to be the main contributor of that, and was top 10 in the US. Because again, I would say most tier lists that I see put Pikachu in top 10 in US players, whether it's Zomba or Cosmos or me or Light, like everyone thinks Pikachu, even if not like as busted as I think or Shiny Mark thinks, Pika's still pretty busted, right? But the problem is, the character is not considered good in Japan, and there were a good amount of Japanese reps on this tier list. 17 Japanese players, and if they didn't, and as an aggregate, if they didn't do top 25, and they're like a quarter of the list, that's gonna be a big deal. If you're going by North America, or Europe, or Central America, really good, but not good at all in Japan. Again, top 25, like let's put where 25 is in this list. So this is 9, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21, 2, 3, 4, 5. So Sam is, or Pico would be where Zero Suit is currently. That's pretty bad. Greninja sucks though, so true. This would be the top tier, right? And the top tier is 19 characters, which to me feels good because there are so many top tiers in this game and people are like, oh, actually the top tier in this game is only 10 characters. No, this game is crazy. There are at least 19 to 20 top tiers and this is 19 as the cutoff with Shulk. So I like this a lot. Basically like divvying this up into like, these are low tiers, these are mid tiers, these are like high mid tiers, these are high tiers, and these are top tiers, to me, makes sense. Here's another point I want to make about this tier list, which is like the way people, you know, I made a video about this a while ago of like what different tier lists mean when I talk about like Tweaks tier lists and stuff like that. There are 2 different types of tier lists, right? There is tier lists of this character does the best thing they can possibly do and it's broken, and then also this character is super fucking meta relevant and has incredible strengths even though their weaknesses of like disadvantage or people can play better. So Kazuya, Rob, right? Like these 2 characters lose a lot of matchups in theory because you out-neutral them and you edgeguard them and you disadvantage them for forever. If you want to check out how to beat Kazuya, I would recommend checking out my How to Beat Kazuya vid I did a little bit ago of people beating riddles. It's going to be up above in a card. So like they're definitely very beatable characters, but also you have to have such a specific game plan against them that if you falter once, you're going to get Z-drop nared or just nared in general or back aired or electric and you're going to die, right? Low-key, the most based thing in this entire fucking list is that Fox is top 5. That is a godlike take. That is so good. Every region thinks Fox is broken, and I'm so happy about it. Fox is fucking ridiculous. That's such a good placement. Losing with Fox as a choice, so true. Fox is broken. Fox is broken, chat. I haven't actually gone through the whole article because I wanted to do that like partially live. I just like skimmed for the Pika part, or someone like clipped it out of on Twitter, so I saw it. But again, like you see here, right? I don't think anyone would disagree that most of these characters at least are top tier. Of course, I don't think Diddy's top tier. I think he's more in like the Wario Samus category, but also I think Samus is underrated. I think Samus should go to top tier. Most of these characters, I mean, Mario honestly is placed quite low. I'm surprised Mario isn't in the top tier. I feel like Mario has good representation everywhere. We have Kurama, you have Now in Japan. Are there good Marios in Europe? I have no idea. But like, you'd think Kurama, Dark Wizzy would like have enough that people would think that they're higher than this? Like 21 is still good, but like I consider Mario like borderline top 10. A lot of Americans don't think Olimar's super good, and I don't think the Japanese players think Olimar is amazing either, because I mean, Shutone, the best Olimar there, is a Pyramithramane that plays Olimar. You don't know about Zelda in D tier? I mean, she doesn't deserve to be high. Again, someone has to be the bottom tier, right? I mean, unless they just made Ganon and Little Mac the bottom tiers, but like, I don't think most people would disagree that these are the bottom 10-ish characters. Like, again, I think Kirby's better, I think K. Rool's better. Like, again, I think Lucario is ass, I think the Belmonts are ass, but like, it's not crazy, right? Like, this to me makes sense. Like, it, at the very least, makes sense, right? I wouldn't be like, no, there's no way these characters are bottom 10. I'm like, I disagree, but I can see it, I understand. You know, same thing for, I mean, honestly, this character, Banjo, is surprisingly high. Why is Banjo so high? Who thinks Banjo's not bad? Why is Sheik under Byleth? The best player in the world played Byleth. And also Riziasu plays Byleth. Like, there's a lot of Byleth players that are, like, pretty good. And also, the best player in the world was playing Byleth and shit on everyone for a while. So, that'll do it. Whereas Sheik isn't really a relevant meta threat in most metas. Like, she's good. Again, a couple of Sheiks have top 8'd in Japan. But like, Sheik isn't super meta relevant in NA until Void starts doing better, and then like Mr. R's pretty good, but also there are so many bigger problems in this meta than Sheik that people are like, oh yeah, Mr. R's really good. Oh yeah, Void's really good. Oh yeah, the Sheik player's really good. So, thoughts on Cloud being top 10? That kind of blows my mind. Like, obviously, Cloud is good, right? Cloud's a good character, but I feel like top 10 is crazy considering there's such a significant gap between Spargo, obviously, and then the next best Cloud. Like, who's the second best Cloud? Like, it's odd to me that it's like, oh, Byleth is mostly Leo and then some others. And then there's like a 20 character gap, 30 character gap between Cloud and Byleth. Yeah, Enhanced is really good. You have Enhanced, Salt 1 Secondary. I forgot about Nico. That's such a big gap. I'm assuming a couple of things. Sephiroth is rated highly, one, because people think Tweak is really good, and two, I'm pretty sure this is like just a Japan thing. Like, Japan thinks Sephiroth is broken. I know Ken thinks that Sephiroth is better than Sonic, which to me is fucking crazy, right? Like, again, maybe a tier up or down for some characters, but I feel like 90% of the characters in this tier list are generally correct. Again, I put Cloud at what, 29 on my last tier list, so like not too far from top tier, so okay, he's top tier, sure, 10 is a little high, but whatever. And then like most of these characters, I'm like, okay, high tier, or like Yoshi, Samus are top tier. I think Zero Suit, I put her at the bottom of top tier. Then like, I think Me Brawler's broken, obviously, but not the whole world thinks that yet, even though Europe does because of Bloom and Pelly, and then NA. NA, I think, has the lowest opinion of Me Brawler, because also I think in Japan, they're like, yeah, Me Brawler's fucking crazy. You know what's also crazy? Make sure to subscribe, obviously, at the very least, turn on notifications, and ring that bell. I shout out to all of you that are here. Going over tier lists is fucking hype, y'all. Thoughts on Marth above Pichu? Oh damn, Marth's pretty high. But also, again, I'm a Marth hater. Like, I am like the certified Marth hater in the world. And if someone really argued, yeah, Marth is mid-tier, I'd be like, yeah, okay. Like, it's fine. Like, it's fine. Marth is an okay character. I think Wii Fit is like horrendously low. Again, there's a couple of opinions on this list that I'm like, whoa, that's insane. The biggest standout in this tier are like Puff and Wii Fit. I think Pichu's too high, but also, again, Niatono does very well. Natoryu does really well. So like every region, like the regions other than NA have a good Pichu, and Pichu would have a better NA rep if Arfang didn't go to medical school. Isn't the same case with ZSS. There's a lot of Japanese Zero Suits. I don't know if there are any European Zero Suits, but it's not just Mars. Mars wasn't even the reason that Japan thought Zero Suit was broken in the first place. So like, if you play lame as fuck, Zero Suit is still a really good character. And again, oh no, upper high tier, like, I'm not gonna argue that Zero Suit isn't top 30. You know what I'm saying? Incineroar's too low? I agree, but again, based on most people's opinion, this makes sense, right? People are valuing in a game, of course, consistency, speed. The reason that the characters sometimes with bad recoveries like Cloud can be up here is because Cloud's neutral is so good. Like, how many people are actually edgeguarding Cloud? A small handful of players. Like, Spargo gets edgeguarded less than like once or twice a set. So it doesn't matter that Cloud has an exploitable recovery. Same with Kazuya. Same with Roy. Like, these characters aren't actually getting edgeguarded to a significant degree. Again, I'll edgeguard these characters, but I'm one bald guy. That's it. Thoughts on Ridley worse than Puff? Ridley is worse than Puff, absolutely. That's like, it's not even a contest. Like, clearly Ridley's worse than Puff. I think Pac is the perfect placement. I think Pac-Man is low-key one of the worst placements on this list. How the fuck is Pac-Man not top 10? How do you put Pac-Man worse than Cloud? Pac-Man's broken! I think if the survey went out after Zachary's performance, Pit would be like where Corrin is. What about Min Min? Min Min is a surprise to me. I'm surprised Min Min is this high. I know Japan thinks really highly of this character, but I'm surprised that Min Min got into top tier when there's not relevant Min Mins in EU. There's not, I mean, there are good Min Mins in NA, and obviously NA really respects Proto Banham, but like, I'm surprised that like Min Min is higher than Lucina. Yoshi higher than Mario? I think I think they're about equal. Patui makes plant C2 plus tier. Yo, did y'all see my set with Diz last night? That shit went crazy. Okay, analysis. Steve was by far the consensus #1 character, being ranked in the #1 spot in more than half of the panelists, and by every region except Europe, where he ranked 5th. Who the fuck is Europe putting? Who's Europe putting higher than that? It's crazy not to think Steve is at least top 3. That's insane. Olimar, I don't think, they're just bad versus Olimar. I don't think they think Olimar is top 5. On the opposite, most people said Ganon was the worst, Little Mac was the second worst, except Latin America put Doc slightly worse, so that's interesting. The 5 characters with the lowest standard deviations were Aegis, Steve, Joker, Ryu, and Captain Falcon. Ryu and Captain Falcon? The other 3 make sense, I feel like, because they're like always gonna be top 5. Ryu and Falcon. So everyone thought these characters were like a 7 out of 10. The 5 characters with the greatest standard deviations were Pikachu. No. Wait, Pikachu had the highest standard deviation. Japanese players, what are you doing to my character? I think Luigi and Lucario make sense for being really high standard deviation because they're inconsistent, right? So like if your region has a really good Luigi, like I'm assuming Europe put Luigi quite high, but I'm assuming Luigi was put pretty low in the Japanese list, so it makes sense that there's going to be that difference. And same for Lucario, right? Lucario's inconsistent, but like, you know, East Canada is gonna be like, damn, Lucario's broken because of Armadillo, thank you. I knew it started with an A. And also there's, I think, a couple of Lucarios in Japan, but like overall, it makes sense that like, oh, these are the inconsistent characters, right? They're either bad or, you know, some people think they're good because they, you know, understand that she shows the truth. Pikachu, who is considered either like the best character in the game or like apparently not top 25. And then Plant was probably rated highly in Japan and then low everywhere else. And then 2 inconsistent characters. I think this tracks, right? Wolf was the highest ranked character to have no panelists put them in the top 5. Oh yeah, so one thing to note is they specifically did ask you like, hey, what is your top 5? Making the list, they said, hey, what is your top 5? List them in order. No person thought Wolf was in their top 5, because I don't think Wolf is a 10 out of 10 character. He's a 9 out of 10 character, right? For sure. Most panelists, ooh, interesting. I really, way too quickly. Most panelists had an above average opinion on their main, with 69%, nice, being rated above average to 31% below average. So 70% of panelists overrate their characters relative to the rest of the list. Didn't I rank everyone? I did. Well, no, so the way it works, it's not like a number system or it's not the way the ranking thing worked is it wasn't, hey, what's your order of every single character in the game? It's, hey, rate these characters 1 through 10. So Steve is a 10, Aegis is a 10, Little Mac is a 2, Ganon is a 1, Captain Falcon is a 7, Zelda is a 4, Incineroar is a 6, right? So like there were a bunch of characters in the same number. But then they were like, hey, specifically, what's your top 5? 10 panelists rated their main within the character's outlier range. I don't know what their outlier range was. No panelists were a lower outlier on a character they actively mained, though the same could not be said for X-Men. Interesting. Regional differences. Ooh, this will be interesting. So the US and Canada, why the fuck do people in NA think Marth is good? There's no, it's because of Leo. It's because of fucking Leo. Leo! Marth sucks. Ness, I 100% agree with. Ness is underrated in my opinion, so I'm tracking so far. Well, not with this, but Mega Man. Does NA think Mega Man is super good? I mean, we have a couple of Mega Mans, but I'm surprised that like Japan doesn't have, is Japan high on Mega Man too? No, even with, I mean, I guess Kamame dropped the character, but Repo is good. So US rated Diddy Kong lower than usual because we're right. Honestly, that's crazy considering we have the best Diddy Kong. But yeah, Diddy Kong, I mean, is a solid and consistent character. I know the Japanese players think Diddy is amazing, because he's just so consistent. But I think Diddy's like not top tier. Like I don't put Diddy in top 20. Latin America, put Marth really high. This makes sense because of Leo. Pichu really high. Is there a good Pichu in Central America? Luigi makes sense because Waka's there. Min Min because question mark, and then Pikachu because of Shiny Mark. That's not even me, that's just Shiny Mark, actually. That's straight up just Shiny Mark. Shiny Mark farms Central America. And then Latin America, underrated, Sora, Banjo, Hero, Ridley. They underrated Cloud? Interesting. So, no Spargo influence, no Big Boss influence. Europe was plus 18 from Bayonetta. Okay, but all these make sense. Like, relative to the characters in this fucking continent, this makes sense. Bloom Forever is the best person in Europe. Nader Yu is like top 10 in Europe. Ramses is really good. Luigi is flames. A lot of people are picking up Mii Brawler in Europe, especially Bloom and Pelly. The character's nuts. Gluto. And I don't know why they think Donkey Kong is good unless they really are just mad that they lost to Hikaru. So I'm not sure about DK, but all the other ones 100% make sense. And they underrated Hero, Snake, and Cloud. I'm surprised they underrate Snake. I feel like, I don't know if Mr. R still plays Snake. Well, Mr. R only does well, apparently, when he's Sheik nowadays, so I don't know. Japan rated Banjo higher because of, Raito. Sora because of Kamame. Yoshidora. Brood. Japan thinks Greninja's really good. I'm surprised that Europe doesn't have Greninja as their like higher characters, because every fucking European that I know gets mad at me for thinking Greninja sucks. But then they're not even showing up on the tier list when it matters? That's crazy. Pit and Dark Pit just because they're solid. Again, that was before Zachary came and like played this character. Toon Link because of this, historically they've had a lot of Toon Links do really well. Sheik, as I mentioned before, a lot of people like Sheik. Then you have Akakisu, you have both Shisho, and what's the other Docs player's name? Zumotsuto, yeah. Who's putting in work with Kirby in Japan? Konkururu and Gintama? Okay. Lucario because of Sue, Link because of T, Sephiroth because of Ken, and Game & Watch because they're fucking right. Game & Watch is broken. Japan's actually based until I get to a couple of characters. So they were low on Wario because of the nerfs. I'm surprised they're low on Terry. I think they just like, oh, just out neutral him forever. Incineroar because they don't have to deal with Skyjay. Pikachu because they're meanie haters. They're mean to me. This is just to make fun of me and my bald head. I'm surprised they actually have Zero Suit rated lower. I feel like Japan still thinks Zero Suit's really good. I'm also surprised they think Ness is bad because of Gact, and also that Lucina's bad because of Proto. Luigi makes sense because that's not a neutral character. They underrate Kazuya? What? And then Mega Man, again, is odd to me because of Repo and I guess Kamame's history, but I guess they say, yeah, Kamame dropped the character, this character sucks. So that's interesting. What do y'all think of this tier list? What do y'all think? Again, there maybe are like 10 or so things that I would very argue, but I think every character is generally in the right spot. Again, especially if you ignore the tiers and just go by the number, right? Because you're like, oh my god, no, Ness is definitely high tier. Because again, I put Ness like up here, right? Like Ness is definitely upper high tier. It's like, okay, but is he better than Sora and Terry and Olimar and Pokemon Trainer and Lucina? Diddy's hilariously high. Character's good, and he's very meta relevant. Again, inherently, I don't think Diddy is super, super good, but he is a good-ass meta character. A lot of the meta Diddy beats. And then, like, the other meta Diddy loses to. Why is Mii Brawler solo? Because they don't know the truth yet. Fun fact, only one player voted Pika as #1 best character. It was Shiny Mark. I don't think Pika's the best. I think Pika's #2. This is a very generic list because it's an aggregate of a bunch of people's lists. So I think, like, it's a really good list. Again, I think Sonic is too high. Diddy is too high. Kazi and Rob are too high, but I'm not really gonna argue them because it's fine. I think Min Min's too high. I think Game & Watch and Pika are low. I think Cloud's too high. I think Samus is too low. I think Brawler's too low. And like, otherwise it's like, sure, whatever. Like, you know, a lot of people when they make tier lists in general, even I do this, I'm not like, oh my god, these are set in stone placements. I'm like, yeah, you put them like up 5 or 10, like sure, whatever. And so I think if you look at my list, I'll bring up my last list. I would say generally the characters are like kind of similar. Again, especially if you like change where the tiers are, right? I have Lucario bottom 3, that character blows, my guy. But like, so let's take Bowser for example, right? Bowser is 33rd from the bottom on this, right? And I put him 21, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 from the bottom. So I put Bowser lower, right? By 6 spots. Okay, that's not crazy. I put Pit near Ike, which is pretty low. I put Min Min at top 26 instead of top 16. Again, I don't necessarily agree with every single placement, but it's hard to argue basically any of these spots, like, hard. Again, one of the craziest ones is Cloud top 10. I think that's just Sparkle God. Because even if Cloud's not as low as I put him, like, he's not better than fucking, like, Cloud's not better than Samus. Samus is a much better character. If you ignore, like, the names of the tiers, right? Ignore S, A, B, C, D, and just go by the numbers of where they are on the list, I think it's a pretty, of course, mine's gonna be different, right? But it looks correct. Like, overall, I don't think you can argue. I like how I put Inkling and Bayo next to each other on my list, and they're literally right next to each other here. I don't agree with Fox top 5 either, cause you're bad. But again, the most important lesson of this entire tier list is I'm not carried, because I don't play a top 10 character, and my secondary is apparently not even that good. So, thanks for watching. Shake my hand. Have a wonderful rest of your day.